Okay, so let's talk about the IELTS test. Choosing the right one? It can honestly feel like you're staring at a crazy complex subway map. There are all these different lines, special tickets, and express routes. If you get on the wrong one, you could end up miles away from where you wanted to be. This explainer, think of it as your personal guide, your map, to get you exactly where you need to go.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get the lay of the land, the whole IELTS universe. Then we'll tackle the big one, academic versus general training. We'll even look at some special editions like UKVI and the online test. After that, a quick look at the test format, a super interesting case study, and then we'll figure out your next steps. Let's do it.
Okay, first things first. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty details, let's just zoom out for a second. What even is IELTS, and why does it matter so much to so many people all over the world?
It all boils down to one simple question. What's your goal, right? Are you trying to get into a university? Maybe you need it for work, for a professional license, or are you looking to migrate to a new country? Your answer to that question, well, that's your starting point for everything. So, IELTS, what is it? It's the International English Language Testing System. And look, it's basically the gold standard across the globe for proving your English skills. It's designed to be a really fair and accurate measure of how well you can actually communicate in English in the real world. And the numbers here? They're pretty staggering. I mean, it's accepted by over 10,000 organizations. And get this, over 3 million tests were taken in just 1 year back in 2017. So yeah, this isn't just some random test. It's a key that literally unlocks doors to universities, to new careers, and to whole new lives around the globe. Okay, now we're at the first major fork in the road. This is the big decision pretty much everyone has to make. Think of it like you're in a huge subway station, and you have to choose between two main lines, the express or the local. And trust me, the choice you make right here, it's going to define your entire test. So here's the deal. On one side, you've got IELTS Academic. This is for higher education, think university, or for getting professional registration, like if you're a nurse or a doctor. Then, on the other side, there's IELTS General Training. That's more for things like migration, general work, or maybe vocational training. And I can't stress this enough. Getting this wrong is a huge deal. It's not a small mistake. You pick the wrong test, and your whole application could get thrown out. Seriously. And naturally, the tests themselves are different to match those goals. So for the academic tests, you're going to be looking at complex graphs and reading long, dense articles from journals. For general training, it's more practical stuff. You might be reading an ad or a company handbook, and then you'll have to write a letter. It all makes sense, right? The tests are built to test the kind of English you'll actually be using. But here's a little bit of good news for you. The listening and speaking parts of the test, they are exactly the same for both academic and general. So no matter which track you're on, your prep for those two sections is identical. That's one less thing to worry about. All right, so you've picked your main line, academic or general. But what if your final destination has some special rules? Sometimes you need a special ticket. So let's talk about a couple of these. The IELTS for UKVI and the one you can take from home, IELTS Online. So is your final stop the United Kingdom? If you're heading to the UK for pretty much any reason, studying, working, moving there, you're almost certainly going to need a specific version of the test to satisfy the UK Home Office. And that version is called IELTS for UKVI. UKVI just stands for UK Visas and Immigration. Now, here's what's so interesting and a little confusing. The test itself, the questions, the difficulty, the format, it's exactly the same as the standard IELTS. The difference is all behind the scenes. It's about security. You take it at a special approved center, and your final report has extra security features on it to prove you took the right one. Okay, but what if we don't want to go to a test center at all? Well, in today's world, there's another route that's opened up, taking the test right from the comfort of your own home. But, as you can probably guess, this one has a very specific set of rules you've got to follow. Yup, this is IELTS Online. It's super flexible, which is awesome, but there are some major catches. First, it's only for the academic test right now, and you have to be 18 or older. And this is the big one. It is not accepted for immigration, including for the UK. Plus, you need the right tech, a good computer, webcam, stable internet, and a totally private, quiet room. The whole thing is watched live by a real person and also by AI to make sure everything's secure. So look, whether you're taking academic, general, the UKVI version, or even the online one, the core of the test, the basic structure, is always the same. So let's just do a real quick run through of the 4 parts you'll always be tested on.
Okay, so there are 4 parts. You've got listening, which is about 30 minutes, and here's the key. You only hear the recordings one time, no replays. Then there's reading, which is a full hour. Writing is also an hour, and it has 2 different tasks. And finally, speaking. This part is actually pretty quick, just 11 to 14 minutes, and it's a one-on-one interview with a real human examiner, which is great because it feels way more like a normal conversation.
Okay, so why are we getting into all this detail? Why does picking the right test, the right ticket, matter so much? Well, let's look at a real-world example. We're going to compare the rules for nurses who want to work in the UK versus Australia. This is where it all gets very, very real.
And this quote right here, it just nails the whole point. It shows this huge difference in how the UK and Australia set their rules. And this one little difference in the rules, it can completely change how you approach taking the test. It's a massive deal. All right, let's start with the UK. For nurses, the council over there, the NMC, they want to see at least a 7 in reading, listening, and speaking, and a 6.5 in writing. Okay, fair enough. But here is the massive catch. You have to get all of those scores in one single test, on the same day. No exceptions. So the pressure is really on to have a perfect day.
Now, switch gears and look at Australia. This is where things get really interesting. Their board, AHPRA, has a totally different, more flexible rule. They actually let you combine your best scores from 2 different tests, as long as you take them within 6 months. So look at this example. This person took the test twice and technically failed both times because one score was too low each time. But by taking their best score from each attempt, boom, they suddenly have a passing result. This isn't just a small difference, it's an absolute game changer. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that the specific rules for where you're going are just as important as the test itself. Seriously, knowing these little details can save you so much time, so much money, and a whole lot of stress from having to retake the test when you might not need to.
Okay, we've covered the whole map, haven't we? We talked about the main lines, academic and general. We looked at the special tickets for the UK and for taking it online. We've even seen how different destinations can have wildly different rules. So now it's your turn. It's time to plot your own journey. Your destination is set, you know where you want to end up, and now you've seen all the paths. Academic, general, UKVI, online. You know what's at stake, especially when you see how a country like Australia can be so different from the UK. So, what's your next move? What's the very first step you need to take on this journey? It's simple. Before you do anything else, you have to go check the exact specific requirements for your university, your professional body, or your visa application. That is absolutely stop number 1.